Hi there, Gypsy Spirit here with you, and I want to talk to you about past life readings. Past life readings are something that's being offered here in my personal home on Fridays from 3 to 7. I may add more hours since it seems to be a big interest to many people. Um, Often, people wonder, well, why do I want to have a past life reading done? Well, a past life reading can help us with many issues. Um, we may be having recurring dreams, or deja vu, or certain behaviors, relationships we don't understand why they are like they are, or why we think like how we do. And often it's the past life that we're still connected to that will reveal a lot of information to us as to why we are the way we are, do things the way we do, think the way we do, and hang on to some of the things that we do. It helps you to have a better understanding as to why you meet the people in this lifetime that you do. It helps you have a better understanding about your relationships, romantic or family, whatever. Um, I will share a couple of experiences that I've had. I have a very, very dear friend who was really having some issues when he and I first met, and I had been doing some tarot readings for him. And one day, out of the clear blue, I got a download about his past life. And not only did it help him tremendously, it helped me too to understand him more. Um, so sometimes if I have friends or family that I may have some difficulties with or whatever, sometimes I'll get a download about their past life. That actually helps me. Um, but it really helped this gentleman a lot. And it was within a year after I had shared this with him that he began to be able to put the puzzle together and understand where he's at in his life today and what needed to be corrected. And today, he's like a completely different person. It's amazing the changes that I've seen in him. And so I'll go a little deeper. This past Friday, I was doing a past life reading for a very young girl, and she's 25, very beautiful, works for a law firm. And she told me some of her things that she doesn't like to do, things about other people that she doesn't like. Like one of them was that she doesn't like people touching her, or she doesn't like to touch people. And so I'm looking at her cards and I'm reading, and I could see that she felt that in her past life there was some sort of entrapment that she was in due to some sort of vows, religious or spiritual vows that she had made, and she had felt trapped or enslaved. And immediately I saw Jim Jones. And I had to ask her, again, when was her age? When was she born? Because I was trying to, I saw it and I was like, wait a minute, I remember the Jim Jones thing happened. I thought it happened like in the mid 80s. It actually happened in 1978. So she told me when she was born, it all like came together. And I asked her, I said, have you ever seen any kind of documentaries about Jim Jones and Jamestown? And she said yes. She started watching it one time. She couldn't watch it. She had to turn it off. It freaked her out. And I asked her about recurring dreams, and she told me about her recurring dreams. And the download, the information that I was getting was so heavy. And I don't get freaked out about many things, but I was like, wow, this is really freaky. This really did happen. It happened. We all saw it on TV if you're old enough, but the reality of it didn't really kick in until I was talking to her and realized that she had been one of his victims. And when I finished, when we talked, she said, this answers so many questions. This really helps me to understand a lot of things, and it makes so much sense as to why I feel the way I do about things and religion and all that stuff. So it really helped her. It wasn't something she was expecting. Certainly was not something that I was expecting. I literally, when I was putting trying to put the time frame together, I had my phone with me, so I had to Google like when all that happened, because I was thinking, this is just my imagination, and I've been doing this for a long time, and I even though there are times that I want to say no, that's just my imagination. It's not. I know when to listen to the higher divine, and there are a lot of times that I want to say no, you're wrong, higher divine, but higher divine always turns out to be right. So I just want to share that with you, because some of you, I run into people all the time that think that tarot and past lives. Some people don't even believe in past lives. I didn't believe in past lives. I mean, I come from a very strong Christian background. We didn't believe in any of that stuff. And I even had, I got very involved in belly dancing, and I'm still very much, involved in Christianity. And I'll say her name, and I know that she won't mind. Scotty Holloway, who is a very well-known medium here in Charleston, and I believe she lives up in Asheville now, but she kind of goes back and forth. Wonderful, wonderful person, and has been practicing for a very long time. And we were doing this. We were at belly dance class together. The Dancing Bina, or Mary Austin, was our belly dance teacher, and we had to do this one move going across the dance floor, and we were doing it individually. And when it got to be my turn, I think I was the last person to go. When it got to be my turn, I will never forget, Scotty said to me, "Oh, Lisa, you must have been a belly dancer in a past life." And I just thought she was nuts. I was like, no, I wasn't. I don't believe in past lives. And so that was before my awakening. And then I had this amazing spiritual awakening through a crystal healing, and just saw amazing things. And I want to say it was probably about 4 or 5 months later, I ran into this woman who also does past lives. And we ran into each other at a coffee shop, and we were just talking. And I was telling her, because we had just met, and I was telling her a little bit about myself, and she was telling me a little bit about herself. And at the time, I was involved with some crazy guy up in Asheville. And, I told her very briefly about him, and then we moved on to another conversation about something completely different. And she said, "He was your boss." And I kind of looked at her, because I thought, okay, what? And I asked her, I said, what are you talking about? Who's my boss? Because it wasn't relevant at all as to what we were talking about at the moment. And she said, yeah, the guy that you're involved with in Asheville, he was your boss. I said, yeah, he'd like to think he's my boss. She said, no, honey. Y'all have a past life together, and you are, you're working out your karma. And she said, you were a belly dancer. Now, this woman she did not know me from Adam. She said, you were a belly dancer in Turkey, and he owned a bar, and you were one of his very best belly dancers. You made that man a lot of money. And I said, well, were we romantically involved? She said, oh, no. Y'all argued all the time. He was a drunk. And I said, oh, well, things haven't changed, because we still argue all the time. But, and then the same thing happened again with the same woman, involving the same guy. So evidently he and I had many past lives together. But, I was involved with a gentleman here in Charleston 4 years ago. We had a 2.5 year relationship. And I can't have any more children. But when he and I lived together, and he certainly did not want any children, I would have these dreams all the time. And all the dreams, he and I would be married, and there would be children. There'd be like at least 2 children, but I always felt like there was more, like maybe 3 or 4, maybe even more. And, I would tell him the next morning, I had this dream, that we were married and we had kids, and he would be like, yeah, that's not ever going to happen. And I remember I was talking to a lady who lived in the very wealthy part of Africa. I had met online, and we're texting back and forth. And she told me that the gentleman that I was living with, that he and I had been married in a past life, and that we had children, and that he had been burned. He died he worked for a factory that was like an aircraft kind of factory, and he had gotten burned. And we were working out karma. And I mean, by this time I believed in past lives, and I understood it a little bit more. And I thought, well, that kind of makes sense, because, I have all these dreams about he and I being married and having children. Never had those dreams before. And after we broke up, I never had any more of those dreams. But I recall about 1.5 years after he and I broke up, I have a dear friend who does hands-on healing, and she also can see. And I had an excruciating headache one day, and her name is Lisa also. So I went over to her house, and I said, "Oh, Lisa, you gotta put your hands on my head. I've got the worst headache. Please take this headache away from me." So she, puts her hands, like kind of hovers them over my neck area and on my head. And all of a sudden she's like, "Oh my God, Lisa!" And I was like, what? I'm thinking there's like a crater in the back of my head or something, the way she sounds. And she's like, "Oh my God, I just saw you and Brian." Brian was the ex-boyfriend that I had broken up with. And she said, "Oh my God, you guys were married, and y'all had a past life together. You were married, and you had 4 children." And I never told her about the lady in Africa. I never told her about the dreams. And she said, she described what I looked like, what I was wearing, what I looked like. She said, "Yeah, he was burned. He died y'all lived in England or someplace, and he died in some sort of a aircraft type factory. It caught on fire or something, and he burned to death. And he was very angry with you then, but he's very angry with you still. And the reason why y'all got together was to try to work out that karma." And she said, "You were angry with him too, because in that time he's no different than he is now. He's an alcoholic, and in this lifetime he's still an alcoholic." And she said, "But yeah," she said, "you guys had 4 children." And I said, "Well, you know what? That really makes a lot of sense, and that answers a lot of stuff, because I never understood why I kept having these dreams. And in all the dreams, I knew that there was more than 2 children. And so anyway, and I understood the relationship, what happened between us and what needed to happen, and why we ended up like we did, and the healing that needed to take place. So I get it. And so for many of you that maybe have some issues with relationships, or you're in a period in your life and things that have been happening over and over, or you're having the same dreams and you're not able to figure out like why, what happened, there you go. A past life reading will really help with that. So again, my next past life reading is on Friday, June 7th, here from 3 to 7. I live in West Ashley, and I don't charge for this. If I charged for this, I would probably charge about $100, $125. But I do love offerings, because I understand that a lot of people can't afford $125 for past life reading. And yet, they need help. We need to bring ourselves to a better place in this world. This is a scary world we live in. and so many of us are trying to figure things out. So I was led by universe to offer my tarot readings and past life readings to the community, but to do it in a way where they could afford it. And I'm just to take love offerings if they can even afford that. So the best way to get in touch with me is to text me, 843-575-9243. And, if you're seeing this on YouTube, you can also contact me as well. Even if you're not in Charleston, we can work something out. So, again, don't be afraid. And you may find out things about yourself that you just never, would have never imagined. I certainly would never imagine this young woman being a part or a victim of a Jim Jones. So anyway, thank you so much for listening, and I hope to see you soon. And until I do see you or talk to you again, take care.